Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the PT Special Revision series. This is the fourth episode of the economics revision, and please revise the previous episodes so that you don't forget the facts. Let's begin with the first topic of today, that is Kharif Campaign 2021. So, National Conference on Agriculture for Kharif Campaign 2021 was launched in order to tap the efficiency and potential of producing more food grains with respect to Kharif crops. And total food grain production target has been set at 307 million tons because the record food grain production was tapped this year at 303.34 million tons. So it has a lot of potential which can be tapped. So review and assessment of the management of Kharif crops. What is the availability of seeds, the usage and minimization of pesticides, the usage and optimization of fertilizer along with the machinery at block levels. This discussion with respect to with these things, the discussion were there, and in order to understand the climate resistance of the crops, this was also one of the things discussed. So decision to distribute seed mini kits for Kharif crops by Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare Department has also been decided. And 1.96%, that is 297.50 million tons more than last year has been produced. Increase in GDP contribution of agriculture and allied sectors. Despite of the pandemic, it was seen that agricultural sector was not that much affected, and it was one of the carriers of the economic necessities and needs this year. So there is also the segmentization of share of agriculture in GDP, which is 70.8% in 2019-20 and 19.9% in 2020-21. There are three types of crops: Rabi, Kharif and Zaid in India. So Rabi crops are those crops which are sown from the months of October to December. Rabi crops. Okay. And western disturbances are a lot of aid in the month of January for them to be a better and efficient production of Rabi crops. And it is harvested from the months April to June. Okay. The example of some of the Rabi crops are wheat, barley, peas, gram and mustard. Second in line is Kharif, which is sown at the onset of monsoon and they are harvested from September onwards. So the examples of them are such: rice is a Kharif crop, maize, jowar, bajra, tur, arhar, moong, urad, cotton, jute and groundnut and soyabean. And Zaid crops are those crops which are sown between the Kharif and the Rabi crops. And their examples are as follows: watermelon, melon, cucumber, vegetables and fodder crops. Next, we will discuss about Nobel Peace Prize, which was in the year 2020 given to World Food Program, the food aid agency of the United Nations. Okay. So the World Food Program, which was established in the year 1961 and it has been working in India since 1963, and the first ever mission was in Sudan in 1963 as well, has won the Nobel Peace Prize, which was stressed by the Nobel Committee about the link between armed conflict and starvation, because armed conflict, this leads to, of course, a lot of deterioration in the food security because of refugees moving from here to there to save their lives, and accordingly they let go of the opportunities of food safety. Then about 80% of the chronic malnourished children in countries are affected by armed conflict. Food insecurity and famine increased in the COVID pandemic. And if we talk about the next topic, that is the Ustad scheme. Ustad scheme by Ministry of Minorities was launched in the year 2015 as a central sector scheme. There are two types of schemes from the center, that is central sector and central sponsored. So central sector schemes are 100% funded by the government, while the central sponsored schemes, these are in a ratio funded by the central government or the union government and the state government in a given proportion, like 60s to 40, 90s to 10, like that. Okay, so what is this scheme? This is actually wanting to upgrade the skills and training in traditional arts and crafts for development, and applicable throughout the year of India. There is no such time that this scheme will be available for a certain amount of time. It is applicable throughout the year. And in order to preserve the heritage of the traditional crafts, arts of the minority community, this has been done in order to make them self-dependent and not depend on any other person or any other institution. That means if they possess some kind of abilities which need to be conserved in order to have a financial security given to them, why not secure it? Then capacity building of artisans in order to make their traditional skills accessible to the global market. That means providing capacity building and training in order to meet the demand, the supply and the skills that are demanded. They should be met through capacity building programs and they should be integrated in the global market. Also, to train the younger generations in traditional and through well-versed artisans, and also, very important, trying to conserve the fading away of arts and the cultural heritage, because if any occupation is not paying well, what will happen? The younger generations will try to move to some other places in order to get a better remuneration. So they will, of course, try to get rid of their ancestral heritage, which should not be done, because any heritage is a very important and intrinsic part of the culture of any country, right? Moving on. Now let's talk about Saral Life Insurance. It is a standard term insurance policy for individuals and low income groups. So the objective is to bridge the security gap between urban and rural India. That means after a period of time when a person of low income reaches at an age where he or she might retire, after that, what will happen? What will be the security provided to them? So Saral Insurance Scheme is working in that direction, that low income groups which might get financially vulnerable after a period of time, they should get proper security in terms of finances. Okay. The plan provides basic security to self-employed or people belonging to low income groups, two groups, self-employed and low income. Because generally the organized workers will have some kind of provision provided to them through the institution itself. But self-employed people, how will they have any sort of institutionalized security to them? Because they are not well aware of those things. And low income groups, because they might not have a lot of income to save. Full cover amount paid to dependents when, after or in case of death of the policy holder within the policy term. Available with a minimum cover amount of rupees 5 lakh up to a maximum of 25 lakh. Again, minimum amount should be 5 lakh, maximum is 25 lakh. Okay, moving on. Anyone in the age group of 18 to 65, keep this in mind. Age group is 18 to 65, can buy this policy, and the policy term from 5 to 40 years is there. Now, the policy holders have the option to pay premium regularly or for a limited period, 5 to 10 years, or pay the entire amount in lump sum. So, these are the flexible criteria of it. Premium can be paid monthly, quarterly, half-yearly or annually. Let's move on to merger of district central cooperative banks, which are actually guided by the RBI. Merger of any bank is done, of two banks, two or more banks, is done by the sanction of RBI itself. So, integration of district central cooperative banks with state cooperative banks have been done by RBI issuing guidelines. For integration, it is necessary to first bring a proposal by the state government. Now, keep in mind, who brings the proposal? The state government brings the proposal, okay? And then NABARD will examine and recommend this proposal of the state government. NABARD is a financial development institute which wants to have a robust, financial inclusive and financially strengthened rural area. It was established in the year 1982 by the NABARD Act of 1981. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, it is a refinancing agency. Keep this also in mind. Then it also needs to be approved by the required majority of shareholder, and we have already discussed about how RBI comes into the picture, the final sanction. Moving on, National Mission on the Use of Biomass. Biomass is any material which is related with plants or animals, and burning or any combustion that takes place of biomass, it is not polluting in nature. It is widely available, and 32% of the energy is derived from biomass. It will, of course, intrigue you to know that approximately 70% people are dependent on biomass for the fuel. So, National Mission on Use of Biomass or National Mission Use on Biomass in coal-based thermal power plant has been done. Now, this mission is for the prevention of air pollution and carbon footprints, clean energy, strengthening energy transfer and achieving clean energy. The objective is to raise the level of co-firing beyond 5% for maximum carbon neutral power generation, promote research in boiler design to control silica and alkali excess in biomass pellets, removing bottlenecks in supply chain of biomass pellets and agricultural waste to power plants. That means there should not be any hurdle in the supply chain of biomass pellets and agricultural waste to power plants. Everything should be seamless and free-flowing. Also, the mission will have few subgroups. First group researches on the characteristics of biomass. Then only we can understand the policy. Now let's talk about network for greening the financial system. That means the financial system should be ready for resilience when it comes to climate change and also tries to be carbon neutral. So RBI has joined NGFS, which is a voluntary group of central banks. Now what is this? Network for Greening Financial System is a voluntary group, not involuntary but not mandatory but voluntary group of central banks. And installation at the One Planet Summit in Paris in December 2017 has happened. RBI aims to share and contribute to the development of environmental and climate risk management in the financial sector. Now it formulates the NGFS financial sector policies of member countries taking into account environmental and climate risk, the threats to financial stability in the form of climate change, physical risk as well as transition risk. So if there is a threat to the financial integrity of any country, NGFS will come into the picture and it will help the member state to become climate resilient. Physical risk are weather events, extreme weather related events which causes harm to the financial integrity, such as floods or drought or anything with respect to weather. Then transition risk is policy, legal and regulatory framework. When we move from the conventional sources of energy to the clean sources of energy, how to deal with the policy, what policies to formulate, NGFS will help in that. Legal, what will be the legal backing if any inadvertent thing happens. Regulatory framework, how to regulate the entire process, that will also be taken care of for a low carbon economy. And the risk involved with technological development. The risks which are involved in the development of technology when we talk about transitioning, because the technology also has to transition along with. So that is also taken into account. Moving forward, Integrated Horticulture Development Mission, which was launched in the year 2014-15 to tap the potential of horticultural industry, and it is a central sponsored scheme. Central sponsored scheme, that means the sponsorship is between the center and the states. Okay, and it comes under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Keep this in mind. So, allocation of rupees 2,250 crore for the development of horticulture sector during the year 2021-22 has been taking place. And horticulture is an industry which cultivates food, spices, cashews, and coconut, ornamental flowers. So all this comes under horticulture. So promotion of the production of fruits, vegetables, roots and tuber crops, mushrooms, spices, then flowers, aromatic plants, coconut, cashew and cocoa. Important role of the scheme is increasing in the yield of horticulture crops. Also, the area and production of horticulture crops increased by 9% and 14% respectively if we compare the year 2014-15 to 2019-20. Now, India's self-reliance in horticulture sector has increased due to this scheme only of Integrated Horticulture Development Mission. Okay, so that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.